So first question. Um, this is a true or false question. So all cases of STIs show symptoms. True or false?
All cases show symptoms. I'd say it's false. I don't think so.
I'm gonna say false.
That's false.
False.
I'm gonna say that is true.
So it's actually false. Some STIs can be asymptomatic, which means that you don't know your symptoms until it's too late.
Oh wow.
So until you go to test, you'll find out, oh yeah, you do have something.
So a lot of people don't believe they need to be tested unless they have come in contact with an STD or believe they have come in contact. And that's certainly not true. Most STDs are asymptomatic in both males and females. So they can live within you and you not know it, and then you're spreading it. So it's definitely important to get tested. Around campus, I've heard a lot of misconceptions actually regarding sexual health, including that straight people don't have to be tested, or that they don't get STDs or STIs as often, which that's certainly not the case. I've heard that gay people have to get tested, are the only ones that need to get tested, and are the only ones that get STIs, and that's definitely not the case. Some other common misconceptions is that straight people don't have to use any form of protection, or if they do, as long as the female is on birth control, then protection is not needed. But however, birth control does not prevent STIs or STDs. So we do have a sexual health coordinator, and she coordinates all of the sexual wellness and sexual health initiatives on campus. There's also the Changing Carolina Peer Leaders program. They also do a lot of initiatives as well by providing free condoms. And I know at the health center they offer free condoms, and now even resident mentors will be able to provide condoms as well. The health center also offers testing on campus. The health center is constantly raising awareness regarding sexual health as well.
So I'm actually the sexual health program coordinator. I work within a team of health educators within the Student Health Center, Healthy Campus Initiatives, and what that usually entails is me meeting with students one-on-one or in groups. So I do consultations, so whether a student has questions about birth control, sexual health, or even just their relationship dynamics in general, I'm available to meet with them. And then we also do what we refer to as large-scale prevention. So we do outreach, we do events, we go into classrooms, so whether it be a university one-on-one classroom or a site classroom, what have you, we do a lot of tailored conversations about sexual health and about risk and how you protect yourself. South Carolina in general, we're overrepresented when it comes to new infections, especially young people. So when I say young people, I'm talking about folks between the ages of 15 and 24, which arguably a lot of undergraduate students fall within that range. So South Carolina, for instance, we are typically have been for the past couple of years anywhere from 4th to 7th in the nation when it comes to gonorrhea and chlamydia infections. And then that age group, 15 to 24, they're the highest demographic within that too.
So I am a licensed psychologist. I'm a certified sex therapist. I'm a certified sex therapy supervisor. So my role at the university, I work full-time at the counseling center. So that entails just helping students. We work with any registered student about any range of conditions. So I was trained as a generalist. I have specialization in sexual health and sex therapy. So I work with students under any range of issues, from depression, anxiety, homesickness, more significant mental health concerns, to sexual function, sexual trauma, sexual pain, identity issues. I work a lot with the trans community. I started a trans group here. I've started a survivors group here, both of which are most well attended, I guess somewhat unfortunately, for the survivors group. And it's good to have resources, even for sucky things. I also teach, so I teach the psychology of human sexual behavior, usually once a semester. And so it's really cool for me to get to be available to students in different roles. I also get to do a bit of outreach. Usually that's about sexual health. Just answering questions about sexual functioning, sexuality, how to negotiate sexual relationships. So I get to interact with students in all facets of their lives, which I really enjoy. I've recently learned what a high statistic it is of people who are asymptomatic. So they show no symptoms of an STI. And again, one of my very well-versed colleagues will speak to that. But most people don't know when they have something. And so in order to get tested, that's how we best take care of our health, the health of our partners, the health of our campus community, our broader community. We need to know what's going on with our bodies so that we take best care of ourselves.
Are STDs and STIs, are they the same thing?
I feel like they wouldn't be, because if they were, they would have the same name. So diseases, and then the other one is infections. So infections can be treated and diseases can't.
I think people use the words interchangeably, but I think that STIs you can't cure. That would be stuff like HIV or AIDS or herpes, but STDs would be stuff like syphilis, which you can get rid of.
False. I would assume they're similar, but maybe not the same thing necessarily.
No.
It is false, just to clarify. So STDs refer to sexually transmitted diseases, while STIs are sexually transmitted infections. The difference there is pretty much that infections lead to diseases, so it's a further along. What region of the U.S. has the highest rates of chlamydia? So like north, south, west, midwest, east.
I say south specifically because of Charleston.
I don't want to call anyone out in particular, but like I guess I don't know, Midwest.
So I'm gonna say west.
The Northeast.
I would say, I want to go say the West.
It's like southeast.
I'll take that as a correct answer. So we have it as the South.
Okay,
It's specifically, yeah. So you're correct there. They did the same study, 100,000 people, and it was 560 cases were found.
So I think what happens then is sex is very taboo. It's very wrong. I don't think people have a part of their brain that lets them talk about sex in a way that's not sexy. So to have an academic conversation, a philosophical conversation, a political conversation around sex is really hard for people, because I think it takes them to a place of like pleasure or their own experiences or stuff that gets very uncomfortable. And our coping skills as a culture aren't great, so people then just tend to repress it, ignore it, deny it, avoid it, which as a whole aren't categorically healthy when used in isolation. So I think then what happens is when it's time to talk about health, if I can't even acknowledge that I have a vulva, how do I talk about it when something is wrong with my vulva?
So a lot of people fear being judged for being tested. They fear judgment from society, their peers, and also like from healthcare professionals. But that's what's so great about the Student Health Center here as well. It is a judgment-free zone, and I can attest to that. But also, like, it's kind of worrisome. Everyone just gets paranoid and worried that like they're actually going to have something, because it's, at the end of the day, it is a possibility. And that wait period can be kind of annoying, but you know, we survive and we make it through, and then we go about our lives. So, in our society, sex is typically a taboo topic. I know personally growing up, it was always one of those topics that was frowned upon. You don't talk about it. It was for procreation only, and that's just not the case. That's not reality. But yet people are still too uncomfortable and afraid to talk about sex. And it is only when you can talk about it and have open conversation that these STDs rates that are currently rising will begin to drop. And just like open dialogue, I can't stress that enough of how important just open conversation about sex is. Getting tested is so critical and so important, and yet so many people don't do it. And there's not a legitimate reason not to. Just get yourself tested.
We at least try to coordinate once a semester, but typically we have one big one a year, our Get Yourself Tested Festival. That's typically in the spring. April is STD Awareness Month, and so we kind of use that as a culmination of events before the end of the semester. So the Get Yourself Tested campaign is something that we do throughout the year in terms of our lab services, but the event itself is usually in the spring. So April is STD Awareness Month, and so we use that as an opportunity to have what I kind of refer to as like a block party or an end of the year bash. And so we have different tables, and each table has a theme. So whether it's Get Yourself Tasting or Get Yourself Talking or Get Yourself Tagged, we like to pick a specific health behavior or a specific kind of focus around sexual health or testing, and we educate about that at each table. And then that usually culminates in the form of students being able to get tested on campus. We've been able to expand, so I'm really proud of that. In years prior, we were only able to offer free HIV testing, but for the past 2 years, we've been able to offer not just HIV testing, but also gonorrhea and chlamydia testing and Hep C testing as well. And that's offered free, and that's on campus, so students don't have to travel. And then also they're able to get like free stuff and learn in like a fun environment as opposed to like a stiff classroom or an uncomfortable setting. We try to meet students where they are. We try to make it fun and engaging, and then we have a peer element as well. So it's not just me, like an adult, so to speak, speaking at them. We have peer activities that are facilitated as well. Definitely make sure that if you are in need of safer sex supplies, whether it be internal, external condom, dental dam, finger cots, gloves, lube, whether it be silicone-based, hybrid, water-based. If you have any questions about sexual health, feel free to stop by the office. I like to think of it as a judgment-free zone, so that new, cute, glass, pretty, I like to think, health center, Center for Health and Wellbeing on the first floor. Come in. I know it can be awkward. Just know that if you want to come get condoms, you can and leave. But if you want to chat, you're always more than welcome to. We do appointments, but we also do drop-ins, which it seems that students appreciate. And don't be afraid to have these conversations with your friends, with family, socially, because I do feel like the more we talk about it, the more open we are about sexual health, the better off we'll be. Lube, masturbation, talking to your partners, pleasure, being a more informed, I like to say sex consumer. Not that we're buying sex, but think of it like that. When you're shopping for something, we look at reviews. We're going to make sure that it fits. We're going to look at what it's made out of. If we took that same approach to our sexual health, we would put so much more effort, and we arguably would probably be in a much better state.